So we all share the exact same physical universe, right? But have you ever stopped to wonder if the clock ticks at the exact same speed for every living creature on Earth? Well, today in this explainer, we're unpacking how we and the animals around us actually experience time. Because as the research shows, we definitely do not share the same speed of reality. Not even close.
Let's start with a universally frustrating mystery. You know when you try to swat a housefly, and it seems like the little guy can practically predict the future? You line up the absolute perfect strike, you swing your arm as fast as humanly possible, and nothing. The fly just effortlessly dodges you, again and again and again. It literally feels impossible to beat them.
Well, here's the wild thing. It isn't relying on supernatural reflexes, and it definitely isn't predicting your moves. Because of its specific biology, your hand genuinely appears to be moving through the air in slow motion. Seriously, the fly isn't guessing where your hand is going to be, it's just watching it approach with this agonizing slowness. That gives it plenty of time to basically just casually stroll right out of the way.
Okay, so to understand why this happens, we need to look at a core scientific concept called temporal resolution. You can kind of think of this as the biological frame rate of an animal's existence. It's essentially the speed at which a brain samples, processes, and ultimately understands the physical reality going on around it.
Think about how we watch a movie in a theater. You know how a traditional film is actually just a rapid sequence of still images, right? Usually about 24 frames per second, all stitched together to create the illusion of smooth motion. Well, our brains do the exact same thing with reality. We stitch together rapid, sequential updates of the visual world. But if you show those frames too slowly, the illusion breaks down, and you start seeing individual pictures instead of continuous motion. So the big question is, what happens if an animal's brain has a totally different biological frame rate?
To figure this out, scientists measure an animal's visual frame rate using something called the critical flicker fusion threshold. Now that sounds complicated, but it's really just the exact limit where a rapidly flashing light stops looking like individual, distinct flashes and just blurs into one continuous beam. And the results when they test this threshold across different species, they vary wildly across the animal kingdom.
And the divide is absolutely massive. While human vision blurs those flashes into continuous light at around 60 times a second, some birds are processing over 100 flashes per second, and insects, they're detecting 200 or even more. They literally receive vastly more visual updates in the exact same span of physical time. Think of it kind of like upgrading a computer monitor. If human vision is your standard 60 Hz office monitor, the insect is out here rocking a high-end 200 Hz gaming rig. Because the insect is receiving all these extra visual updates, their reality appears smoother, more detailed, and effectively slower. The exact same amount of physical time passes for both of you, but that swatting hand of yours, it's unfolding across way more perceptual moments for the fly.
Now, this speed of reality is heavily tied to physical biology. Research consistently shows that smaller animals perceive temporal changes significantly faster than larger ones do. Small animals tend to have really fast metabolisms, rapid heartbeats, and bodies that just burn energy incredibly quickly. Because their nervous systems are literally forced to operate at much higher speeds, their perception of time speeds up right along with it.
Take a tiny hummingbird, for example. Its heart races at an astonishing 1,000 beats per minute. For a creature like that, life demands extraordinary speed, and evolution stepped up and provided a nervous system that can keep pace. Their wings flap dozens of times a second. Flowers have to be located instantly, and predators must be dodged in a fraction of a millisecond. A tiny delay literally means death. So, to a hummingbird, our human world is practically standing still.
Then you look at the exact opposite extreme. Massive animals, like elephants, operate on a completely different timescale. Large animals process information more slowly simply because their bodies operate on a much larger, heavier scale. An elephant's heart beats slower. Its metabolism is slower. Now, their reality isn't any less rich or less detailed, it's just a slightly slower, more drifting flow of time. Their experience of the present moment feels subtly different than, say, a mouse's.
Okay, so now that we've established how fast they process the present moment, we have to ask a deeper, kind of more cognitive question. Do animals actually possess the ability to perceive time as past and future? For centuries, we comfortably assumed that humans planned for the future, while animals merely reacted to whatever was right in front of them. But is that really true?
Actually, modern science has completely shattered the idea that animals only live in the present moment. Take scrub jays, for example. When they hide their food, they don't just remember what they hid
or where they hit it, they remember exactly when. They actively keep track of the time that has passed, deliberately retrieving perishable food before it rots, and saving the non-perishable stuff for later. Guys, this is essentially mental time travel. And it isn't just birds. Chimpanzees actively stash away tools, knowing full well they're going to need them for a task later on. Ravens demonstrate complex, long-term planning. Even rats navigating mazes show brain activity that indicates they are physically replaying past memories and simulating future routes in their sleep. It's crazy. Honestly, the more we study this, the harder it becomes to draw a firm line between human and animal time perception.
So, having explored the animal kingdom, let's turn the mirror back on ourselves for a second. Let's look at a deeply relatable mystery about our own human experience of time. Have you ever noticed how the passage of time itself seems to accelerate as we get older? Like, why does that happen?
Think about it. While childhood summers felt completely endless, adulthood years seem to just vanish in the blink of an eye. Well, this happens because our brains pay special attention to novelty. Children are constantly encountering new places, learning new skills, meeting new people. The brain pays super close attention to all of this and records really rich, dense memories. But adulthood is heavily weighted toward repetition. We commute the same way, we work the same jobs, and we run the exact same errands.
As we settle into those established routines, that lack of fresh sensory data causes our internal perception of time to just rapidly accelerate. With fewer new moments standing out to really anchor our memories, the adult brain simply compresses entire months of repetition into a rapid blur. Interestingly enough, because wild animals face constant novelty out in nature, like every single hunt is different, every scent trail is completely new, their perception of a lifespan might actually feel vastly longer and richer than ours does.
When you put all of this together, it leads to a pretty profound realization. The universe simply does not run on one universal biological clock. A tortoise, a dog, a human, and a fly might all occupy the exact same physical space, and sure, the clock on the wall ticks at the exact same rate for all of them. Yet the evidence strongly suggests that those seconds do not feel remotely the same for each of them.
I want to leave you with this final thought about the incredibly subjective nature of the reality we all share. The next time you try, and let's be honest, inevitably fail, to swat a housefly, don't get angry. Just take a second to appreciate the biological marvel you're witnessing. It isn't psychic, it's just living through more of the present moment than you are. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning the speed of the reality around you.